The Dow finished up nearly 1% today after the Federal Reserve left rates unchanged and projected 2 rate cuts within this year. But that might not keep Wall Street calm for very long. Fed Chair Jay Powell also warned that uncertainty is rising. Do you know why? Trump's agenda. And that tariffs could delay the central bank's progress against, guess what? Inflation. You know, the thing that helped Trump get elected. Our nightcap is still here. All right, Alex. Tackling inflation and lowering prices was Donald Trump's promise day one.
Sure.
And I would argue it was the top priority for undecided voters. Do you think America is going to be okay with the fact that those top priorities seem to be slipping away, at least in the short term?
Well, here's the question, which is that Trump made a promise to a wide swath of the American electorate that was unhappy with where things were economically, that he was going to make things better for them. And so, you know, talking about the midterms, just come up a couple times on tonight's show, he's going to have to show voters that he's making their economic life better. And he's got, 16 months to do that. And we're going to see what happens with the economy between now and then. Right now, it looks like, anyone's guess.
Yeah, I feel like...
Okay, hold on. Anyone's guess. And experts are guessing no bueno.
Well,
it just seems that Donald Trump has stunted the economy, essentially, because that's essentially what Powell said. He said we can't change the interest rates because we're all in a wait-and-see space. And I'm sure you know this from talking to your sources on Wall Street. But everybody feels like they can't plan for the future because they don't know what the future is going to be, because it's touch and go, gas pedal every single day. And so we're going to be stunted until Donald Trump makes a real decision and sticks with it.
We are watching every member of this administration do TV. It seems like 24 hours a day. I feel like Howard Lutnick does more TV than I do. And he's constantly spinning this tariffs are a good idea. It's how America is going to be a superpower again. This April 2nd date is looming, that things could get bigger or worse. And it's as though everyone in this administration has now bought in hook, line, and sinker to this idea of big tariffs. Even his Treasury Secretary, Scott
But
Bessent.
only because he has to. The Treasury Secretary used to be totally opposed to tariffs. It was only when he was appointed that he suddenly changed his tune.
14 months ago, in a letter to investors, he was like, no, probably not the way to go. And now he's all in. But I want to play a clip of Trump's former economic advisor, Gary Cohn, who was with Donald Trump in his first administration. He was on CNBC this morning talking tariffs, and here's what he said.
What is the objective of the tariffs? If it's literally force jobs and force manufacturing in the United States, then the tariffs have to be passed through to the consumer.
Right.
They have to be passed through because the only way to get more manufacturing here is to make the foreign product more expensive so the U.S. manufactured product is cheaper and then can compete.
He's not looking to make an enemy of Donald Trump, and he's certainly not a liberal, lefty radical. He's a business guy, and he knows the economy. The American people are already feeling the impacts of tariffs. Inflation that we thought was waning is not. If you're a Republican running for office, whether you are doing a town hall or avoiding a town hall, how are you feeling about that re-election right now, seeing what's happening?
Not good, because even if this tariff notion, this magical thinking could work, it's a very long-term strategy about bringing manufacturing back to the United States. Good gosh, that's going to be at least that's going to go well past the midterms if that could actually happen. But as you know more than anybody, what those investors on Wall Street care about is certainty. And so we can debate tariffs all day long, but Trump is turning it on, turning it off, turning it on, turning it off again. So the one thing that he's doing more than anything is just creating uncertainty.
But isn't he missing sort of the back half of this trade, right? His argument is, and Howard Lutnick's argument, we're going to bring manufacturing back to this country. They've yet to stand at a podium side by side with any giant manufacturing boss who's saying, and I am opening up a plant in Tuscaloosa, and we're making sneakers and T-shirts and Bobby socks. They're not announcing that. So this argument that Scott Bessent is making, that it's short-term pain for long-term solution, how do we know it's short-term? There is no back half of this trade.
And there's also the, farming industry. by the way, I just talked to the governor of North Dakota, Kelly Armstrong. He's a Republican. He's as MAGA as it gets. And I was like, how are your soybean farmers doing right now? They obviously export to China, #1 exporters from North Dakota. And he was saying, oh, they're doing okay. But you know what they're going to rely on? USDA subsidies. Are they going to be there, though? Or is Doge going to hack that, too? And, you know, they border with Canada, and a lot of their farming is actually in Canada. So they have a lot of issues right now where their land is split between the two territories. There's a lot going on over there. And it's like, and I'm like, are you getting in touch with the administration? Are they calling you back? And they're in a weird spot right now.
Well, Howard Lutnick was actually on TV earlier today, and he wasn't speaking about tariffs, but he was talking about something else that was pretty unusual. Let's watch.
If you want to learn something on this show tonight, buy Tesla. It's unbelievable that this guy's stock is this cheap. It'll never be this cheap again. When people understand the things he's building, the robots he's building, the technology he's building, people are going to be dreaming of today and Jesse Waters and thinking, gosh, I should have bought Elon Musk's stock.
I dream of Jesse Waters every day. Are you flipping kidding me? Like, are you flipping kidding me? Like, let's just take a pause, because I know things are, like, totally out of the norm. That is the U.S. Commerce Secretary, a cabinet member, on national TV, pimping a stock of a private company, telling people go out and buy Tesla, whether it's buy the stock or buy the car. A week after the president, with a sales pitch, is on the front lawn of the White House telling you how cheap Teslas are. Right. Do you remember the first administration when Kellyanne Conway once had an Ivanka bracelet during a 60 Minutes interview, and she's like, Ivanka made it, and the world went crazy about emoluments clauses and the violation. And here we are, the Commerce Secretary, saying the one thing to do today is buy Tesla stock.
But what does that speak to? It speaks to Musk's power and influence right now, right? Trump has appeared with Musk in the various points. He's talked him up in the cabinet room. He appeared with him in front of the White House with a bunch of Teslas. Musk is incredibly powerful right now. And unlike people who are running for office, politicians who are running for office, other cabinet members, he has nothing to lose, right? He's not really in politics. And he can go back and to his, $400-something billion. So he has nothing to lose. He has an incredible amount of leverage. He has a political operation, if he wants to use it, he could put hundreds of millions of dollars into if he wants it. And so he's got a tremendous amount of power. Trump has to be careful in terms of how he handles Elon for that reason.
Well, he's a heat shield. He's a heat shield for the president. And we had a fun time with James Carville last week. Carville used to do that all the time in campaigns, where he would go out and do really controversial stuff so that he'd take the heat instead of the candidate. So Musk is doing that in many ways for Trump. But on Tesla, I mean, the irony of this is that they're trying to sell cars to a base that Trump has been telling everybody, get rid of electric cars.
Correct.
So,
F-150 or bust.
Yes. So it's a message is cutting across itself, and I don't think it's going to be very successful.
Isn't it also a bit desperate?
It is. And it's interesting, something that Alex brought up. He suggests that Donald Trump is afraid of Elon Musk. And, you know, I know
didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
You did a little bit. I know that the staffers are afraid. I know the officials are. I know cabinet secretaries, they're afraid of Elon Musk.
In their defense, most people are. And it's okay to be afraid of him. He's the richest man in the world, and now he's become the most powerful.
Right. Exactly. So he really, I mean, at this point, he runs the ship. I mean, if Trump is saying to him, oh, use a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer,